excited to have the Wedding Dolls join me for this episode. And I'm going to go straight in with a super heavy question. Are you ready?
Oh my God, go on.
Why do venues have such a high turnover of coordinators on property? What is
How,
going on?
how long is this for?
Yeah.
How long have we got?
What's going on?
It's really, really obvious why they turn over, because when we coordinate for couples that choose us privately to go to their home because they know they need one, and then we get asked to coordinate at venues because the couple haven't built a relationship with their venue and they don't trust them. So over the years, we have worked at so many venues where the couple have hired us just because there's no connection, or they've been made to feel that what they're asking of their coordinator is not what they would do. And I think we've had a lot of insight into what happens in some of these venues. So for us, it is a little bit like the turnover is they're working too long hours. They're expected to do the viewing, take that couple on, and then promise them that they're going to be with them all the way, and then they can't do it all. They're just not focused enough on each couple, and then they in the height of the season, sometimes we've been at venues and the coordinator has just done 4 on a trot, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And
I mean, I'll be honest, my first job in a venue, I did 6 weddings a week.
And we had someone that wanted to come and work with us, and they were saying exactly they was doing 6. That was their job. That was it. And sometimes
and they love it. They're trying to do the right thing. It's not because they don't want to give the customer experience, right?
There is an element of burnout there, you know, to be effective and to give that 100% every day, because it's that couple's day, isn't it? And it is worthy of 100%. We go in and our hearts go out to some of the coordinators and we sort of say, how do you do this, like 5 days a week and then a day at the weekend or whatever it may be?
And it does feel by that point it is process driven for a lot of them, because they can't make a mistake. So they've got so many that it isn't necessarily the person, it's whatever that op sheet is going to be that day. And I think sometimes we've also worked at venues where the coordinator's been with the couple all the time, but they're not there on the wedding day, so they don't actually get to deliver either. So they're more like office-based coordinators that are picking up the phone, doing the sales, sending out brochures, and then trying to put the details together for someone else to manage it. So I think sometimes there's a turnover in staff in that, because they might just get a little bit bored of the fast pace, but they, you know, when you're there on the day and you deliver, it's such an emotional connection that
and the buzz, you
see it through.
doing it.
I couldn't imagine not being there on the day. But you know, when people ask you that really stupid question, they go, oh my goodness, so do you actually go to the weddings? Like, that question used to blow my mind. Like, who do you think's going to make it happen?
But it's not always the case with places that we're working, and that's where we've done a wedding where a couple have reached out just because they've been through 5 different coordinators. And when we go in and we work as a team with the venues, and you start to chat to these coordinators and understand exactly how they've had that turnover, because what's expected of them.
It's a hamster wheel, isn't it, for a lot of them? And I do think that
it makes couples nervous, don't it? That they're speaking to one person, and then 6 months later, or by half of the next season, that person's left, and then there's another coordinator that they're dealing with. So,
and I think
inconsistency sometimes.
I think as well that before, a few years back, maybe pre-COVID, hospitality felt more like a family environment. You all looked out for each other. There was a lot more picking each other up, and now I think there may be more younger people coming in who just don't have that strength that we have as
it's hard, right? Because it's often pitched more like a first job to a young 20-something. I had a lot of those people in my teams, because also we only had a certain amount we could pay them, and that would only appeal to a certain age bracket.
Definitely. And then they don't get the in-depth training that they need as young people. They're just sort of thrown into, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And I think with weddings, it's a personal service. If you work for a venue or not, this is couples, regardless of if they're spending 100 grand or 20, to them it's a big spend in their life.
Absolutely.
And they're choosing a venue based on a whole feeling that they've got, and some people, you can't train that. It takes a long time to become that person for them.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Obviously, I spend a lot of my time training these days, and you're absolutely right. Like, training in a lot of that gut feel and life experience, it takes just a little bit of time to embed in. Now, you guys are really clear that you are not planners, right? And I suspect that even in the industry, people go, well, what's same difference? Planner, coordinator, whatever. So what does that mean for you? What's the difference?
Do you know what? When I think coordinators getting much more is much more understood now than it was a few years ago, definitely. And I think with a planner, you've got to really be understanding what their total vision is. So that's aesthetics as well as that guest experience. But it's not, the couples aren't worrying about the logistics so much because the planner will take it all on and deliver the vision. With the coordination, the couple have got their own vision and they're busy sort of bringing that together, but someone's got to coordinate or bring all those people together, almost like the team leader of the wedding. So the planner is working with them right from the beginning, and the coordinator is making sure that it all comes together so they can enjoy it. But over the years, we've evolved the coordination because we used to do wedding planning, and we did used to. That's how we started off, because it was like,
when was this? How many years ago was this when you guys started your business?
It was about 12, 14 years ago. So I used to work in corporate events, and I took time off with children and was like, oh, people had asked, can I help with weddings? Yeah, no worries, that's easy.
Now that's rare that someone moves from corporate events to weddings, because normally, I'm sure you see this, people are corporate events or their wedding events.
Yeah, but I was really naive, and I was really naive because I thought, oh, that's all right. I've had big budgets and pressure and briefs in London, and I can do this. It's only a wedding. How wrong was I? Yeah. The emotions connected. Even if they've got a big budget, they still don't always have what they see, that, and they can't afford the pictures that they show you. And I would get quotes for flowers, and you know, this was based on a client's brief, and then the quote would come back and they was like, oh, I've only got half that budget. And so there was lots of naivety that I thought I could do that. And then I got booked quite a few times, and then you'd get recommended, and quite a few times I did coordination and I loved it. But there was this, like 12 years ago, that it was really snobbery around coordination. I felt like there was a bit of an industry of, you know, luxury weddings or DIY, basically.
And nothing in the middle.
Nothing in the middle. Started doing more and more, but that was by word of mouth because I had 2 young children. And then Kath's really, like, one of my best friends started really helping out loads, and she is like attention to detail queen, yeah. And so then we could afford to take on more than one booking, because it was like, right, well, you've done loads now, you go and do them. And then it evolved just before COVID. I was a bit like, I don't think I want to do this anymore from a planning point of view, because
so you were still full planning at that time. The business pre-COVID was traditional planning.
Yeah, mixing the both.
Got you.
But actually getting so much out of the coordination. You'd meet the couple, do run-throughs, point out all the little problems they hadn't thought of, worked out that their timeline wasn't going to flow, and just really helped them to be realistic and know that they was then going to enjoy it. Whereas with the planning, it was like 12, maybe 18 months. And when you was going backwards and forwards on decisions, or the family would be having a Sunday roast and they're suddenly discussing napkin colours, and then I'd get a text on my Sunday. And when we broke it down and talked about it, it was like, this isn't even minimum wage, and I'm not getting any enjoyment out of this. And Kath was like thinking that she was going to join me and we was going to do the wedding planning as such, but it just never sat with us, and we never felt passionate. So then COVID happened, and I was a bit like, do you know what, this is a perfect time. I think I'm going to get out of this. And Kath's like, no, I'm going to do it with you. Let's do this together, and let's go for it. And then we sort of scrapped the planning side and was like, no, we're coordinators, and actually really proud of it, that like people need our help.
I think the enjoyment that I get from it is, you know, when I got married, I planned my own wedding. I loved it. I was more than capable of doing it. I enjoyed doing it. I had bridesmaids, friends, everyone involved, mum, dad, you know, and it was lovely. I loved that experience. But when it comes to the day, or when I speak to couples that we know, like, it should be a lovely planning journey, and we're there to support you. Carry on, make your decisions, go and look at, you know, speak to suppliers and make sure you connect, rather than us just saying that these ones would be good for you. But what I loved is that they get all that, but the nerves would come with who's going to make sure that happens on the day. You know, who will be my, you know, wing lady on the day, because I want my bridesmaids with me, and I want mum not worrying in the morning, and all of them things. So it was a really lovely shift for us to be able to support that different type of couple that, as I say, loved the whole process, but just needed that like a sort of a friend really, with the expertise, and knowing that they could turn up on the day and they would be looking after every single logistic. You won't find out about the problems, you know, you get to spend every minute of that day enjoying yourself. And so the shift was really clear into coordination, wasn't it?
And then we was all steam ahead. But then what happened was there was a client, it was a brother of a client that I'd planned for years ago, that then wanted to come back and said, will you help us get married? So okay, well, just one more. But it was just coming out of COVID, and they wanted an outside, really, they were Indian but wanted a very non-Indian wedding. And so we said, well, they was in Hertfordshire, we said, you'll have to come to Kent, because we don't know how to research you, the sort of venues you sort of thing you want, but there is a venue in Kent that we know of and it would be perfect for you. And so we took them there, and then through conversation, they had set up a venue not long before COVID, a few years before, was just taking off, and had to obviously shut everything down. And they hadn't really got into that. They had a member of staff that was managing quite a lot for them, who sadly passed away in COVID. And they were just starting to find their feet, but they were venue owners that had a vision for their venue, not how to run their venue. And so we sort of stepped in to help them get through COVID and pick everything up. And that's when it came really aware to us that actually venues could outsource to us, because we get both sides.
I love this, because obviously I deal with a lot of venues. That is my 9 to 5 these days, helping them with their sales and marketing. And I typically don't get involved in operations. Like, obviously I can help a little bit here and there with some, you know, obviously I have a million years of experience, but I'm all sales and marketing. And I see so many venues who actually need to outsource the planning and delivery piece. And it's often family owned, beautiful country houses. They've got a great product, but they're not hospitality. You know, they're not hotels. They're not in hospitality.
And they're almost losing money. They're losing money because of it. Because they're trying to do too much. They're trying to sort of sell it themselves and then run it themselves. And then we've struck up such a good partnership that there was a dry hire venue as well that we used to get booked at quite a lot, because you could hire the house and then they could do what they wanted for the weekend, which caused loads of problems. So then they decided to build a wedding package. And because we had been hired to work there quite a lot independently through the couples, they took us, and now they've outsourced to us as well. So we just become an extended part of their team.
So how does that, can you just unpack that a bit more for me? So if I owned a venue, how would you, at what point do you take the couple on? Like, at what point, how does it work?
So basically, once again, the partnerships we've got with our venues, like you say, they are family owned like businesses. We've got great relationships, and what we found with both of the venues is no one's going to sell your venue better than you. So you spend your time doing them viewings, you know, your quotes, etc. And they live on site, a lot of them,
and negotiate the costs and what you're happy with and what's included.
Confidence of once you've made that relationship and they've chosen your venue, that they have got a professional team that they hand over to. So they would pass over their email, and within 24 hours we will make a hello call and let's get you started. Let me now expand on everything you need to know about this venue, and let's sort of work out a bespoke day for you, because both are quite unique in the style of wedding you can have. And so it's very much about finding out every couple that come in, not using the venue in the same uniform way all the time. And so we really talk about it being, you're a bespoke couple, let's talk about you and how you want your day to look. So and from that point then, the venue owners do not have to think about that couple. So whether they booked in 25 and they're not getting married till 27, we'll do that initial planning meeting, and then we offer full support throughout: email, Zooms, phones, and then right up until we do the run-throughs, and then we do obviously the coordination on the day and follow-ups as well. So like our venue,
you're built into the package in essence. So it's the venue who's paying you. So the couple just understands, I bought this wedding package and I'm getting my coordination.
But it's no different from the venues taking on 2 or 3 coordinators on an annual salary.
No, it's amazing.
But the reason it works really well was from their cash flow. They don't pay us, and they pay us a deposit when they get a deposit, and then they pay us when they get paid.
Per wedding, you're not having so you're. This is, I am sure there are venues
budgeted into their fees and their costs, And then, as I say, on a per event basis, when they book, they pass over to us. We then book into our diary. And then, as I say, look after them with our team, where we're looking after all the couples. We can constantly answer their emails, and they can continue spending their time focusing on the sales and marketing, confidently knowing that all of their couples are fully looked after.
Yeah, and they trust us. It's not necessarily, it's outsourced, but we're really close with the owners of the venue, so we are part of their team, except for we've got a little bit more passion probably because it's our business.
Yeah.
So they trust us.
Different. It is different. I see it when I'm working with venues. If I'm working with a team who are an employee, they turn up, they care. But if I'm working with a business owner or a venue owner, like they're all in. It's completely different, right? The energy is different, and of course it makes sense. Now, can you tell me, has there been a kind of messy handover at any point where you've had to step in and, you know, obviously couples have already booked their venue, or it's one of the venues you work with, and you've had to just unpick a bit of a mess?
Yeah, not with the venues we work with, but there's definitely a couple that would spring to mind. Yeah, and I don't think it's a mess intentionally. I think it's that the couple probably bought into the venue for a dream, but maybe they didn't ask lots of questions, or there was confusion and it wasn't mentioned that they couldn't have this.
A lot of lack of communication.
Yeah, it's probably been down to that. And then we would get hold of. Yeah, and sometimes it wouldn't be in those situations, it's not always the bride that hires us. It might be the mum or someone that's like, you know, we need help with this because this venue is not giving us what we need. And they almost, I think, sometimes hire us because they think that we could throw a bit of weight and go in and try and help. So then we've often found ourselves then, well, we don't want to do that, but actually the couple are paying us, and they are quite right. There are things that, well, I don't know why the venue is saying no to it. So yeah, we would sort of unpick stuff, but then some of those venues we've built really amazing relationships now, and sometimes I think they're quite happy that we come along, because
I bet
it is borderline between the couples that want maybe a lot more out of the remit that they usually do. So they see that maybe as a little bit more time consuming, or they don't have the experience to do it, which is why they keep on such a tight sort of schedule.
And sometimes we have, and I'm sure there are many venues who, now they've worked with you, are like, great, these girls are on board, that takes a bit off our plate. But on the other side, we see a lot of issues where there are planners involved, and it makes it harder for the venues because they're almost trying to justify their fee or something by, I don't know, do you know what I'm trying to say? And I don't want to upset planners. I work with lots of planners as well.
Absolutely, no, definitely. But when we did do some planning at some venues, we'd be really respectful of that, because we know it from both sides. So we could take the couple right the way up and be there on the day, but we would be very much, you know, we're going to work with all of the suppliers to get things ready, but when that registrar comes, or when this time happens, your coordinator for your venue needs to look after certain things for you. We'll hold your dress and we'll do that, but we're not going to tell the coordinator that we will take care of the registrar or we will do the music, because that's when it gets a little bit confused. And also we want a really good atmosphere behind the scenes, so we wouldn't, you know, people have expected us to go in and think, oh, there's a coordinator, they're going to tell us what to do, and then by the end of it they're like, we need to recommend you to more, because I think as a planner you can't do the venue's job as well. There's a lot of moral support on the day that the couples need you for, and that guest experience and sort of making sure that everything's flowing doesn't always come down to the venue, because I think as a planner or a coordinator we would go to the photographer, you've got what you need, right, well let's just make sure front of house is ready to call, and we would do a lot of that. And some venues maybe don't do that, and that's why you might find that the drinks is going to take half an hour longer, or dinner runs over by an hour. So when we do go into a venue as a coordinator, they will always go, oh my god, everyone sat down on time, and I think it's a different approach.
It's like my favorite thing is when the timeline is on.
We still do it. We still go, yes, 5 o'clock. Yeah.
It's like such a little sick joy.
Inside, it is massively every time.
But I think
no one can understand that. God.
I think we also work at some like amazing venues that have got a a great setup, but we get hired for different reasons, and we'll be really forthcoming with venues and say, look, we know you're doing a great job, you know, you're a 5-star venue, that's great, and we're here to work as a team, and we don't need to disclose why we've been hired, but there is lots of extra support. And when we go in with that attitude, like, we're all here today and I've got my little bits to do, you carry on as normal, and between us we're sort of work with the couple and just make sure everyone has the absolute best day. And a lot of the time they're grateful. They're like, oh, handy. I'll go, I'll move them flowers or whatever it may be, because we respect that some venues, as we started with, are really overworked. And I think that's the most important thing when you look at the turnover, and so people book us to have that ongoing continuity.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And we always say, like, gosh, we could all write a book or 3, right? What are some of the wedding day stories that you would put in your book?
What is it? Like horror, like nightmare?
It might have been a near miss. It might have been something the couple never even knew was going on in the background.
I'll give you my last one of the season. A woodland wedding, where the couple had brought in a witch who was to bless all the trees, and they was to have their ceremony within the trees and the environment, and they was doing offering up to the trees. Their day fell on, was it storm?
What was their name? In October.
It ended up with a storm, and we knew how important it was to this couple, and we had to make the call to say, listen, in amongst the trees just is not going to happen for your ceremony.
I guess safety.
Yes, but my heart went out because I knew what it was important to them, and then so I'm rebuilding the day thinking, right, so could we get back out if it gets a bit calmer for 5 o'clock, and what do I need to turn around by this time? Should we call for dinner earlier in order to get that? And it was something I hadn't seen before, and we was then working with this witch throughout the day to say, how do we bring this part in, and could we do it in a different space that's a bit safer? And we did, and she done crazy things, didn't she? Like
she did go by the, I mean, I wasn't that one. I was at a wedding, it was nice and dry, we was inside. So on our little group chats we were like, oh, what's going on? But she did go by. That was, and I think that's what keeps us going as well. Like, 1 minute there's a witch conducting a ceremony, and it means so much to the couple, and then the next weekend, with they're down at the Archbishop's and they're in Canterbury Cathedral, and then they're going back to their home afterwards, and so we do such a mix, and there's so many. 1 minute you could have a fairly big budget, and then there's a couple with not so much. Like,
what typical budgets do you guys work with? Because again, when I think of a planner, I'm thinking 50k up minimum. If you don't have 50k, don't worry about hiring a planner, right? But I imagine if we're thinking more about on the day coordination logistics, that becomes a little bit more accessible for couples with smaller budgets.
Yeah, it does. But because we provide the same service, we don't tweak it depending on their budget, because actually what we do is what everybody needs.
So you don't run on a percentage like many planners do, because we often see that kind of 10% of budget is thrown around, right?
No, it's just a fee because of the service is all worked out, and coordination sort of comes across as, oh, you turn up and you coordinate on the day, whereas we've really evolved the package to blend a little bit of planning. So in the minute they book, we'll do a Zoom call with them, and we give them all a planning portal. So we use Aisle Planner, the American one, and we build them a timeline draft based on what they're telling us, like from the off. Because if they've then got a visual, because that's the thing, they're planning a wedding without an event sheet. We wouldn't do that in our business. So they need the tools. So we would draft that straight away, and then we would meet them at home or the venue that they're going to and walk through things. And then there's lots of timelines and templates and things that we give them, so that then they can go on.
What budgets do you typically work with? Sorry, I think my internet's sticking.
Oh, yes.
They can go from, I would say average about 25,000 up to about 60. That's kind of anywhere.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I don't think we do have couples and have inquiries where they might be doing about 15, 16. Maybe they've like hired a village hall and they've got family helping with food and stuff. And sometimes they will budget for us, and sometimes we don't hear from them again. They know they need help, but we have done quite a few of those weddings, and they are hard. They are really hard work. And we can't just do that on two of us. You know, we were talking about moving chairs from a ceremony into a wedding breakfast in an hour and a half with a barbecue station. So we've really evolved how we look after couples. So the price point is probably a little bit higher than what it used to be when they used to have a much smaller budget. But
I think it's about getting the importance across for, as Joe was saying, we don't go on a percentage. The service we deliver, whether you've got 100,000 or you're the 50,000 or 20,000, it's a formula. You know, you get the same service from the start to the finish to the day after, whatever it may be, and having it clear in our understanding the service we deliver and our business worth. It sort of works. You know, this is what you get as our service, and I think that's really nice for couples to know. And then that's where we can build into their budgets, because likewise, when maybe they can't afford us in their budget, we don't want to take away that other element of importance that we know how important it is. But if we can work with them and say, well, maybe a bridesmaid could do this or whatever it may be, when people understand they need a coordinator, they already know they need a coordinator. So then it's just down to.
But if they can't sort of do our afford or budget for our package, then we have no qualms in saying go and find somebody else that might be able to start, because that's the thing, isn't it? Someone starting out is always going to be half the price of us. They're learning as they go. That's how the wedding industry
And how has the business evolved in terms of your team? Have you grown? How has it changed?
Yeah, massively. We have 9. We say they're full time, but they're almost freelance. So we have 9 manager level. So some weekends we can be doing 4 or 5 weddings on one day, and we could do 5 or 6 across the weekend, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's been such a slow process, because we take our team members on and we take them out with us all summer, with us or our more experienced ones, so that they can be put in the rain, put in the sun. They can have no ice, families that don't get on, so that they, you know, a band that's 2 hours late and all of it. So they have to see everything to know how they would cope with it, and we can't let them then be, you know, talking to couples and working with them if they haven't got enough knowledge. So that's a slow process, because we make sure anyone that comes with us does that for a whole year before they're sort of let loose. And then when they're let loose to manage on their own, they've always got a really strong assistant that's never wanted to manage on their own, because they might not feel that confident, but they know what they're doing. So that's evolved into, I think we've got like 82 weddings or something this year, and it's not, but we still go out and do lots of them. We just make sure that none of them do 2 days in a row.
I was just going to ask that. So how do we avoid accidentally falling into the same trap as most of the venues are struggling with?
They don't even work. If we can help it, they don't even work 2 weekends in a row, because they need a life. You need a life. You can't. We've done it. You go hard and fast from April to October and burn out. And so the reason we've got more staff members is because it's like a little pool of them, and we go to them and say, right, who can do these dates, who's on holiday, and are really flexible with it.
Because they work more like freelancers, they can say no
as well. And I think when we touched on that, it's although they are part of our team, you know, we really respect them. We respect their hard work, and they are the type of people that we want to be sending out and knowing that they're delivering that 110% all the time. But the beauty of that is we can say, oh, right, these are our dates, and one, oh no, I'm on holiday that week, or I've got the child doing this, whatever it may be. But actually, when they do turn up to manage 5 or 10 throughout the season for us, they're so invested. And that's where, as I say, we've got the 9 managers, but we've also got a big team of assistants that, as I say, over the years have built that knowledge.
About 15, it's about 15 of them in total. And when you said earlier about funny stories, like on our group chat, it is we like the photos that are coming through, and like
can you share some of those with us? I don't mean like physically share the photos, but maybe you could tell us some of those stories in the group chat.
Or some of them will just be, I don't know,
like an example that Joanne was trying to get some content the other day about. Give an example of when something went wrong at a wedding, and they're all chatting. And you know what? We all sort of had a little bit of a brain block, because it becomes natural. Things
it goes through our group chat actually,
because it comes natural, and you think. And I worked with one of the assistants at Marquee at the wedding, and she come back. She was like, "I'm not really sure what to say in this little video." I was like, "How about when we turns up, the generator, the family had gone off to a castle to get married. The generator didn't start. The chefs had turned up." They didn't want us running the generator for too long, but it didn't start at all. And by the time they got back, we'd got the lighting wasn't working. So we'd got the kitchen up and running, the lighting guy back, the generator working, all by the time they had gone to the church. But where then naturally people just get on and do it. You don't step back and go, oh,
it's normal,
do you know what?
It's normal.
It becomes normal.
There was one in the summer where they wanted a really lovely, relaxed vibe in the garden. It was just barbecuing. And again, they'd gone off to get married somewhere else. And my chef was 2 hours late, who worked for the company they'd booked. But then I had 3 or 4 school kids, agency staff that turned up ready to work. No chef, who was just delayed, didn't even say why. But then the agency second chef turned up but couldn't start cooking because the chef had the barbecue in his van. So between all of that going on, they get there and I'm like, right, you've got 20 minutes to just get your unload and van, and then this bus is turning up with all these guests on. So now you just like, no time for niceties, like just you need to crack on. And then I'm like, right, hi guys, how are we nearly ready to serve for dinner? And they were really cagey. And I was like, what, everything all right? No, we haven't got any plates. We've sent someone to IKEA to buy.
This was a professional catering company with the chef and the
been paid, yeah. But the caterer, the owner of the catering company, it wasn't them. They was off in France cooking a wedding. They was doing a wedding somewhere else abroad. So they just had this front of house that worked for them, and this chef, who also was loving having a good drink all day. Like you see that a lot. And so
you've got a drunk chef who's 2 hours late with no plates.
I mean, they come back from IKEA with all these plates, and they're trying to work out how to get the price off the bottom. And I was like, we need to just get this food on the table now. No one's looking at the bottom of the plate. Let's just get these out. But then it's managing, like I told the photographer, and I was like, right, let's not rush to get a couple of these pictures done, and they're going to want to know if we're going to call for dinner soon. So then I'm saying to the couple, we're not going to call just yet because everyone's having a really nice time. It's really casual. We're, so we're there half an hour late. We're half an hour late, and I'm like, we've not sat down on time. But and I think these things happen. So the amount of times like a groom has gone to put his leg up on the chair just for the registrar, the ceremony, to tie his shoelace, and it's all the way like ripped all the way up, and then you're there in their crutch like sewing up their trousers. Or they'll turn up
to the toilet, pass them out, and you're like, as quick as you can. Which I think that reverts back to that would not maybe be expected of a venue coordinator, but where we've always just been so hands-on to do them sort of things, it becomes just natural.
When a bridesmaid's in a silk dress like a pale baby blue and she's sweating and she's got sweat marks and you're there trying to dry her off, and we've never been able to get into, I mean, we're probably of a bit of an age where we don't like filming ourselves and talking on camera. We're not relaxed with it. It's not something we like, so we don't get a lot of content. But there's also a part of us that doesn't want to be disrespectful to say what always happens behind the scenes.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we haven't got time to think about it. We would never go, oh, stop that crisis. We need to capture this for our content. But we don't tell the couple what's going on. So we don't want to next week be like behind the scenes with us, and it shows who we're dealing with. So so we're sort of torn between all these stories that we have to tell. And I think that's probably why a lot of them don't come to mind, because we just get on and do them. But there will all
because the couples never do find out about it. When we come in on a Saturday night, if we've got 5 weddings going on, I'm sure yourself working in that industry, you come in and you've had the busiest, longest day, but you just can't unwind. And then our WhatsApp group just starts buzzing off like, oh, this happened today. Oh, and what about this? Oh, look at this photo. And it's sort of, and the buzz continues, but the couple never find out. And then we're, it doesn't mean anything more to us than that. It's a problem we dealt with.
And it's almost like you get a little internal trophy for who had the biggest challenge.
Because you've overcome it, right? I mean, it's a job. If everything was going to run smoothly, what would they need us for?
No. But it's learning, isn't it?
We're not sort of laughing about things. It's between us, like if you want to be a wedding partner, we've had quite a few wanted to try it out, and they just don't fit the role, because you have to be a bit mad, and you have to want to, like, it's like when, I don't know, a couple's nan has made the wedding cake, but maybe it's a bit gothic-y and it's black and it's all black icing, and we've had to cut it, and then we've got a photo of one of the girls like covered in black icing and like trying to, like that nan has made something for them in line with their style and how they wanted it to be. But for us, it's quite funny because we're not cake makers, and we're there trying to do our best, doing all the things that we're trying to do. So we don't try and replace any suppliers. But if a couple said, we're doing our own flowers, and then we're like, oh yeah, we can help with that. But then you might turn up and there's like 7 buckets of loose flowers. But so now when they say, that was be years ago, now it's like, right, well, we can do our own flowers. These alarm bells go off, and you're like, okay, we need to know all of this, we need to do all of that. And we're not just going to snip and put them in. We take a lot of pride in that, but we're not florists. So we're troubleshooting all these potential issues. So then when something does come up, you are a bit like,
I think preparation with us is always key. So, we're invested into using amazing planning software, so that, and from the moment, whether it's at a venue, the moment a client books, we can monitor, we will start with that timeline. Then we'll say, right, there's some little bits in red and you can start to fill them in, add in your suppliers. And so we can always just be checking in. So even though we might not hear from them for 3 months because they're just enjoying life and doing their planning, we can always log in and just see their activity. And if not much is going on, maybe a little email, how are you getting on? Do you need help? Whatever it may be. But by the time we get to a wedding, we quite confidently know we've covered everything. Like,
and this is where I always struggled with the on the day thing, because I was like, but everything is about the prep before, and then on the day you're just troubleshooting because you've done all the hard graft beforehand. And that's, I think, where this on the day thing gets confusing, right? But you're not doing on the day, you're doing.
And the fee, they see it as being on the day, but it's not. Like before, like Kath said, before we do a run for about 4 weeks before, we've gone right through their portal and we've gone right. Well, I don't know, they might have put something and we're like, okay, you've got a cake being delivered by whoever it is at 11 o'clock, right? Who's got the cake knife? Is there a cake stand? Have you hired it? Has it got to be returned? We've got to put it somewhere safe. Is the florist bringing flowers, or do you have the cake topper that we might find in a box somewhere? Like we've done so many that, and all the questions we've asked is because they're the situations we found ourselves in, with no cake knife, not knowing about a cake topper and all this sort of stuff. So now it's so natural, and we do it for our own benefit, really, because then we know what we're walking into if we do, or
what our team are going out to as well. It's nice just to sort of have an understanding and be on hand that if on the day something happens. But likewise, that gives us a lot of confidence in what we're going to deliver on the day, and we will check with all of their suppliers. They will all have our mobile numbers. But on the day, life is life and things happen. So it's just having them sort of be in that forward thinking and
what's in the future for the Wedding Dolls? What's coming up? What are new projects that you're thinking of?
Well, we're on camera for a start, so that's a big thing for us. We're like, right, we need to let people know, exactly like you said, coordination isn't just on the day. Like, we're not planners, but we are going to help you all the way through. So we need to get more people to understand the difference. So we're definitely working on that, and just
our venue relationships and and I think, and as we said earlier, when we go out to venues, we are very much part of their team. But you will see, even if it's a family run barn and it's the lady that owns the barn, and she's still there polishing glasses on the day, and by us coming in and being that extra set of hands, or the fact that we've got a really strong relationship with the bride and groom, whoever it may be, it eases the pressure from them, because we tend to be the, Kath, is Nana, whatever it may be. So on their day, it makes it a lighter load for them as well.
It's breaking that cycle of them thinking that they need that member of staff to take the phone calls, do the inquiries, look after everyone. And you know what it's like competition is so hard. Like, everyone is fighting for a couple, but the castle couple isn't going to be a barn customer necessarily. They know what they're looking for. So some of the venues just can't keep up with their own marketing now, and then they don't really know who they're marketing to. And so it's a bit of a yeah, we just want more people to focus on their own sales and realize that they can't do both, they can't do it all, and you know that they, like you said, the other side of it. So it's to strengthen some relationships. There are some venues that we know that could do so well if they would break that cycle of feeling like they need a permanent staff member and just hand some of it over, and then they can have a bit of their life back, and it takes away the stress, and everyone gets to enjoy the little part that they're doing. You know, that's what we love about.
I love your business model. Honestly, I absolutely love it. What's something about creating the business, not necessarily through the weddings, that's been kind of a life lesson for you creating the business side of things?
I think some of that is we never switch off. Ever. That's hard because you do it so that you can be at home around your children, and then people always used to go, oh, I feel really sorry for you, you go to work for like 14 hours on a Saturday, and we've always said actually we love it, and we would rather that than sitting at a desk like for like 3 days a week full time to do the same sort of equivalent hours. So but we don't ever switch off, because if we're not thinking about the couples, we're thinking about, right, what can we grow the business, what can we do? And you know, just
I think also we're really invested in, to grow our business, is looking after our team. And so we're very focused on training, and we've had some of our team that, you know, just go through personal circumstances and they might have just lost a little bit of confidence, and it's about bringing them back out again and sharing our stories and making them feel, you know, that times might have changed since they've done it a year or so ago, and then bringing them up to speed with the way things are now. And so, and making sure that regardless if you're one of our 15 and we put 2 at one wedding, another 2, and you're all circulated, that they're all getting on. So we're doing things socially, and creating that team, and making our team members that are freelancers that love doing it feel part of a big team, and that we're all working for the same goal.
And we was talking about that recently, because it's like a little, not like a girl gang, because, you know, we're all like mid-30s up to like 50-ish, and actually it's a second wave for a lot of them. They'd stopped big careers like in the city and, you know, all sorts of jobs to have children and still want to be around for them, but they still want a buzz of doing something really well. And they're also, we've just found that age group is just so passionate and so enjoy the belonging of something and doing something really good. But then they're also, it's keeping them, you know, we're all getting a bit older, but, you know, we lift the tables, the chairs, we're physically active, and then we're using our brains, but we're being calm. And so as women, and we have had a junior that was a guy, and he didn't stick it out, but we seem to be that the people that we are growing our team with are, from a personal level, are achieving such big things. So we feel like that it's not,
and they come back year on year, like our team.
Because we don't give them work in the winter.
No. So that, as I say, and we're lucky because the consistency is even for us, knowing that like our team have been with us, like Sarah, something like 10 years, you know, so they know exactly. And as we have grown, they're excited for us, you know, they're as passionate about our company, and sometimes when we put out our dates, they're all like, oh, I'll do it, you know. So and
we do pay, we look after, we pay them well, to pay them what they're worth. So it's I think that, you know, they go off, and some of them have had like babies the last few years, and then we're like, so when's the baby due? Right, you'll be off for the summer. And then when they do fall pregnant, and it means that they're sort of having the baby through the winter months, they're like, guess what, I'm back by May. And it's like
I love it. Ladies, I could talk to you for hours, but we have to wrap up. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, the website is theweddingdolls.co.uk. Instagram, we're getting a bit better on there, so yeah, we'll be on there. LinkedIn.
Perfect. So we'll drop all your links in the show notes. It has been such a pleasure to speak to you ladies today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Lovely to talk to you. Bye.